Everybody, Omega Killer 44 here, and today we're going to talk about 10 explanations for color schemes we use on everyday things. Let's get started right away. Coming in at number 10, why traffic lights are red, yellow, and green. The traffic light was invented for trains. At the time, it only had two colors, red for stop and white for go. The green light was later added to mean caution. So it was red for stop, green for caution, and white for go. However, the white light soon provided problematic, as train drivers often mistook it for a distant star on some other light. Train companies noticed this and replaced the white light with green, so it was red for stop and green for go. Road traffic regulators adopted the traffic lights when vehicles came along. However, they included a yellow light to mean caution. Yellow was selected because it had a shorter wavelength than red, but a longer wavelength than green. The difference in wavelengths is the reason that red is the most visible from afar. Yellow is less visible, red is more visible. Number 9. Why taxis are yellow. Yellow is considered the de facto color of taxis, even though they could appear in different hues depending on local regulations. While some states like New York require taxis to be exclusively yellow, others made some other color mandatory. Why? Well, this is due to John Hertz, who eventually developed the Hertz rental car company. Taxis were not exclusively yellow decades ago. In fact, the first New York taxis appeared in a variety of colors, especially red and green. That changed after John Hertz launched his taxi business in Chicago in 1915. Hertz funded research to determine the most visible color for a motor vehicle. The study revealed that yellow is the one, so the yellow taxi was born. Other taxi companies soon caught on to Hertz's strategy and started to paint their taxis yellow. The color became so common that states like New York amended their laws to require all taxis to be painted yellow. Number 8. Why school buses are yellow with white tops and black lettering. U.S. law requires all school buses to be yellow. The law even specifies the type of yellow, which is aptly named school bus yellow. School bus yellow is a real color named after the school bus. It's actually a mixture of yellow and orange. Before the law, these vehicles were painted a shade of yellow that looked like a lemon. School bus yellow was selected during a 1939 conference to determine the features of U.S. school buses. Attendees at the conference agreed on the color yellow because it is the most visible hue for a vehicle. Studies have proven that we can spot a yellow item even if it is not directly in our view. Attendees called it the National School Bus Chrome. However, it was later renamed School Bus Yellow. Yellow school buses often have black lettering because black is the most distinguishable color that can be used against a yellow background. The top of school buses are often white, which is considered the absence of color in some contents, because it reflects sunlight better than other colors. Darker hues will absorb the sunlight, causing heat inside the school bus. Number 7. Why fire trucks are red. Red used to be the de facto color for fire trucks. These days, however, they come in a variety of colors depending on local regulations and the fire department. The reason that fire engines used to be red is unclear, and the explanations are even contradictory. Some sources say the first fire trucks were red because it was the cheapest paint around. Fire departments were staffed by unpaid volunteers at the time, and they did not have much money to spare, so they just painted their vehicles with the cheapest paint they could get. A second and contradictory theory claims that the first red fire engine was the result of a competition among firefighting departments. These groups were supposedly staffed by volunteers at the time. However, individual firefighting departments wanted to stand out, so they went for the most expensive paint they could land their hands on, which again was red. Number 7. Why zebra crossings are black and white. In the late 1940s, the British government launched a nationwide experiment to determine the best colors for making pedestrian crossings. The experiments became a necessity after a series of accidents involving pedestrians and motorists. At the time, Britain was experiencing a surge in motor vehicle ownership. This became a problem as drivers often mowed down crossing pedestrians who were not used to sharing the roads with cars. The government created pedestrian crossings, but they did little to help reduce the accidents. This was because the crossings were marked with metal studs, which were almost invisible to drivers. The government later decided to switch the colored markings and launched the experiment to determine the best colors for the roads. They determined that black and white was the most visible pattern. Drivers could see it from farther distances than other colors. At the same time, it also made the crossing pedestrian visible to the drivers because they stood out from the background. 5. Why fire hydrants were red. Red used to be the de facto color of the fire hydrant. However, they did not appear in a variety of colors nowadays. While many fire hydrants are coated with a random bright hue to make them visible to passing pedestrians, the paint jobs are not always arbitrary. The paint could be used to indicate the source of water for the hydrant. In this case, a yellow coating shows that the hydrant is connected to the public water system, while violet coatings indicate it is joined to a lake or pond. Alternatively, the paint job could be an indicator of the gallons of water that the hydrant can provide per minute. The most powerful hydrants are painted blue. They are capable of providing at least 5,680 liters or 1,500 gallons of water per minute. Green fire hydrants yield 1,000 to 1,500 gallons of water per minute. Orange hydrants deliver 500 to 1,000 gallons of water a minute, and red fire hydrants provide less than 500 gallons of water per minute. Number 4. Why airplanes are white. Civilian airplanes are almost exclusively white. There are several reasons for this. One is the cost. Paints are expensive. A regular paint job runs between $50,000 to $200,000. This could be too expensive for a budget airline that buys a used airplane from a larger airline. White paint also saves money because it does not need as much maintenance as other colors. White is also an airline favorite because it reflects sunlight off the plane. A darker color would absorb the heat, making the interior of the airplane hotter. At the same time, white reduces the danger caused by radiation and protects crucial airplane parts like the nose cone, which often contains the radar. 3. Why toilet paper is white. Toilet paper is almost always white because it was bleached. This is the same reason why the regular paper we write on is white. Regular toilet paper would be brownish gray if they were not bleached. We understand that regular paper is bleached white to allow us to see whatever is written on it clearly. But why is this done to toilet paper? Bleaching costs money and makes the toilet paper more expensive. Besides, it's one of an off product, so why bother? Well, it's done for 2 reasons. First, manufacturers bleach paper to remove lignin. Lignin is what makes trees rigid, and it does the same thing to paper. No one wants stiff toilet paper, so it gets bleached. A second reason is that we consider anything white to be clean. This is why manufacturers who make the toilet paper from recycled paper still bleach it white even though it does not contain lignin. Besides, the unbleached product would appear in different colors and shades because the paper comes from different sources. Number 2, why soccer balls were reddish brown and then black and white. The first leather soccer balls were reddish brown because natural leather is that color. So manufacturers often left the color unchanged. The reddish brown soccer ball was used for the World Cup until 1970, when it was replaced by a black and white one. FIFA had Adidas create the black and white ball because the World Cup was increasingly televised at the time, and it would have been difficult for viewers to spot a colored soccer ball on the black and white televisions. Adidas used a mixture of black and white because the black spots allowed viewers to determine the direction of the ball on the black and white television. Adidas called this the Telstar, which is short for television star. However, some sources claim that the ball was actually named after the Telstar satellite that was used to transmit the World Cup matches across the world. I'll be right back. I'm back. And number 1, why tires used to be white but are now black. Tires were once white because the natural color of rubber is white. Unfortunately, these tires were not very durable. They wore quickly, reduced handling, and cracked when hit by ultraviolet rays from the sun. Tire manufacturers solved this by adding carbon black to tires around 1917. Carbon black instantly solved the myriad of problems linked to white tires. This is why black tires last for tens of thousands of miles, while white tires barely went 5,000 miles before they were due for replacement. However, carbon black, as the name should have already hinted, made tires black. So yeah. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed. Peace!